a new lawsuit that we filed against the Justice Department, the Mueller operation, over that illicit raid of Michael Cohen, who is, at least then, was President Trump's personal lawyer. And you may recall some time ago the raid took place, and it was extraordinary in the sense it rarely happens that a lawyer is raided by the Justice Department. It rarely happens. They don't do it for mob lawyers. They don't do it for drug kingpin lawyers. They just don't do it. But if you're the president's lawyer, if you're President Trump's lawyer, all bets are off when it comes to the rule of law, because the Justice Department, run by Mueller, at least in this area, is targeting Trump, and the rules and ethics are going out the window. And so they had this outrageous raid of Cohen's office that led to the collection of millions of documents, and Cohen obviously is facing a lot of pressure as a result of the raid. But Judicial Watch just isn't, there was a controversy about the raid when it took place back in April or so, I think April 9th. So Washington moves on, but Judicial Watch asks questions about this corruption that everyone's talking about, and then something else happens and they move along. And that's not what Judicial Watch does. We file Freedom of Information Act requests. In this case, we filed 3 requests to various offices in the Justice Department for records about the raid. And what had happened was that Mueller had decided he wanted this information, it looks like, based on public reports. But he recognized that to target the president's lawyer like this, Mr. Cohen, was a bridge too far for him. So he pawned it off on the Justice Department and the Southern District of New York, which is the U.S. Attorney's Office district up there, and they conducted the raid. And as I said, it was unusual and unprecedented in scope. As best I can tell, it hasn't ever been done with any other high-level public official under investigation. It's never been done, and the president's lawyers had to go in and intervene and try to protect attorney-client privilege, and indeed, there were 12,000 documents that were privileged and shouldn't be viewed by the government's lawyers. It was found after a review of the 4 million documents seized by the raid. I just can't imagine there are 4 million documents, but I guess that's the number. So what we're asking for is basic information about communications between Mueller and the Justice Department about the raid, what precipitated it and such. The Justice Department is in full cover-up mode, full Stonewall mode on this. They have ignored our request. And isn't it ironic, the Justice Department, the agency charged with enforcing the Freedom of Information Act, refuses to comply with the Freedom of Information Act and comply with the law. We sue when an agency refuses our request or unlawfully holds documents. And unfortunately, with the Justice Department, they just ignore requests. So talk about lawlessness. And this is not something that is acceptable. It wasn't acceptable during the Obama administration, and it ought not to be acceptable during this administration. And Mr. Sessions and Rod Rosenstein and the rest of the top echelon of the Justice Department and the FBI, and frankly, Mr. Mueller, need to stop obstructing and stonewalling legitimate requests for information. We're not asking for state secrets. We're not asking for communications that would tell us what they're thinking about in terms of, they have particularly privileged information about a crime that took place. We're just asking for basic information about how the raid took place and basic documents like that. And we're getting to Stonewall. And again, it's up to Judicial Watch to provide oversight of Mueller. What strikes me is that Congress is very critical in asking documents about how the Russia investigation began, about the dossier, about Peter Strzok and Lisa Page, all of which are appropriate. And of course, the IG report has confirmed that there were shenanigans in terms of anti-Trump activity at senior levels of the FBI at the beginnings of the Russia investigation, and that IG investigation is ongoing. But they refuse to bring Mueller in. They refuse to hold Mueller to account. They refuse, Congress does, to provide oversight of the Robert Mueller investigation. I keep on calling him Mueller, I guess it's Mueller. And the Mueller investigation needs to be held accountable the way any other government activity would be. Mueller is now, has, I think, 17, 18 prosecutors working for him officially. Judicial Watch has been unable to find any registered Republicans among those prosecutors. There's plenty of Democratic donors. I think we're aware of one Republican donor, but that donor gives to both Democrats and Republicans. But no registered Republicans among Mueller's team. Also, of course, you had the issue of Peter Strzok, who was an anti-Trump activist who was running the Mueller FBI side of the investigation up until July of last year. He was fired or removed from the investigation, but Mueller or the Justice Department didn't tell anyone about it. So you've got this issue of the Mueller operation being corruptly formed, spending a lot of money, so he should be asked about that, and his handling of anti-Trump bias and his hiring decisions on his team. So why isn't the Justice Department and the Mueller being asked about that by Congress? Mueller can testify. You know, you can protect, let's say the Mueller is conducting an investigation which is privileged in the sense that Congress shouldn't be messing around with a prosecutor asking him about the specifics of a criminal investigation. No, no, no. I'm talking about the general administrative actions related to Mueller's operation, how he handled Peter Strzok, the anti-Trumper, whether he has concerns about other bias there. You had Comey leak records in a way. James Comey, the former FBI director, leaked FBI records to get Mueller appointed. He should be asked about that. What did he know and when about his appointment? Did he know that Comey had leaked the records specifically to get a special counsel appointed at the time? Does he have any concerns that's impacted and undermined the credibility of his investigation? You know, Mueller, by the way, also, according to reports this week, is using resources from outside his official special counsel's office to support his wide-ranging and out-of-control investigation. So we know about all the prosecutors in theory that work for him directly, but now he's asking other agencies within the Justice Department, the FBI and such, and other lawyers in the Justice Department to support his work because he's doing so much. So rather than get the resources officially, he's unofficially dragooning Justice Department and FBI resources into his gargantuan operation. So who's asking these questions about Mr. Mueller? Only Judicial Watch. We sued for budget information. We sued for information about collusion between Mueller and Comey. We're asking about this raid that Mueller engaged in through the Southern District of New York and the FBI on Cohen's offices. You know, and let me talk to you a little bit about that raid. We did a panel about a month or two ago, I guess it's 2 months ago now, about the deep state, about the Russia investigation. And we had on a panelist Tony Schaefer, who is a great guy, veteran, intelligence official. He knows where the bodies are buried and knows how to and knows a lot about what's going on in terms of the way the deep state operates, because he's seen it up close when he was officially in the government. And Tony said during this panel that he knew there were FBI agents who refused to participate in the Cohen raid because they knew it was no good. Think about that. There are FBI agents who refused to raid the lawyer of the President Trump because they knew it was inappropriate. Now, Tony made that allegation. I don't know if it's true, other than I know Tony and I trust Tony. But this is the sort of information we're asking about. And this is the sort of information this Justice Department is withholding from you, the American people, because that's what we're asking for it on behalf of. You know, when Judicial Watch gets these documents, we put them out for everyone to see. We get documents that Congress can't even get oftentimes. Congress isn't in court suing for this information, but Judicial Watch is.